What was it really like inside the mind of a Neanderthal? It's one of those questions that just feels impossible, right? But what if I told you there's a new study that's kind of like a time machine for the mind? Yeah, we're talking about using genetics to peek inside the heads of our ancient relatives and understand how they paid attention.
All right, so let's start right here with you. Just think about your own ability to focus, to just tune everything else out and really lock in on something. It's one of the most basic things our brains do, but here's the kicker. Was it always like this? Did our ancestors, early Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, Denisoans, did they focus in the same way we do? And the author of this paper, Marlise Lombard, has this beautiful way of putting it. She says attention is what turns looking into seeing, hearing into listening, touching into feeling. I mean, think about that. It's not just some simple skill, it's the master switch that makes sense of the world. It's the engine behind everything, from solving a problem to learning something new.
And you can actually see the echoes of this focus in the things they left behind. I mean, making a stone tool, that's not just banging rocks together. No way. It takes incredible, sustained attention, planning, super precise movements. So every single one of those artifacts you see in a museum, a hand axe, a spear point, that's basically a fossil of thought. It's a record of an ancient mind, locked in concentration.
Okay, so this brings us to the million-dollar question. How on earth do you study something like that? It's not like you can pop a Neanderthal in an fMRI machine, right? Well, this is where it gets really clever. You become a detective, and the clues, they're written in our DNA.
The thing is, minds don't fossilize. They just disappear. But our genes, our genomes, they carry this incredible record of all the evolutionary twists and turns that make us different from our ancient cousins. And this study uses this absolutely brilliant method to sift through that genetic record and pinpoint the exact genes linked to attention. So, the method they used is called neuro-genetic triangulation. Sounds complicated, but it's basically a super smart three-step filter. Step 1. They look for all the gene changes that are unique to modern humans, changes that happened after we split off from Neanderthals and Denisovans. Step 2. They take that list and check it against a huge database of all the genes we already know are involved in attention. And then, for Step 3, they narrow it down even more, keeping only the genes that are active in the brain. So after all that filtering, what's left? That was the big mystery.
Now, going into this, pretty much everyone thought they knew the answer. For decades, the leading theory, the attention network theory, said that the headquarters for high-level attention is in the cortex, that wrinkly outer layer of the brain, the newest part, evolutionarily speaking, specifically the frontoparietal regions. So that's where all the genetic clues should have been pointing. That was the prime suspect.
But when the results actually came in, well, the genetic trail didn't lead to the cortex at all. It pointed somewhere completely different. And this is where the story gets really interesting. I mean, check this out. It was a total mismatch between what was expected and what they actually found. The genetic hotspots, the real action, it wasn't in the fancy high-level cortex. Nope. The evidence was overwhelming, and it was all pointing deep inside the brain, to these older subcortical hubs. We're talking about the brainstem, the cerebellum, the thalamus, and all the white matter connecting it all together.
And this was a huge deal, a total surprise. It turns out the story of our evolving attention wasn't about adding fancy new attention centers on top. It was about upgrading the brain's fundamental infrastructure, the really old, deep-down relay stations and the high-speed cables that connect everything.
So this leads to this really powerful new idea. What if the big difference wasn't about having new parts, but about having better connections? What if the secret to our unique way of paying attention was a massive rewiring project deep inside the brain?
The genetics pointed to 4 main players in this big upgrade. And again, these aren't new gadgets added to the brain. They're ancient, super foundational structures, things like the brainstem and cerebellum. But it looks like in our lineage, they got a serious performance boost.
So, first up, you've got the brainstem. Think of it as the main gateway, the front door for pretty much all the information coming into the brain from the world and from your body. It's about as fundamental as it gets.
And get this, the study found 12 distinct gene changes related to attention right here in the brainstem. That's not a coincidence. That's a seriously strong genetic signal.
So this is the hub where your brain is constantly comparing what it plans to do with what's actually happening. It's what lets you smoothly track a moving animal with your eyes, or zero in on a tiny sound in a quiet forest.
For any ancient hunter or toolmaker, that is an absolutely critical skill.
All right, next up on our list of upgraded parts is the cerebellum. You can think of this thing as the brain's amazing prediction and automation engine.
And the genetic signal here was super strong too, 11 gene changes. And what's really cool is that this lines up perfectly with the fossil record, which shows that the cerebellum got way bigger in Homo sapiens right after we split from the Neanderthals.
The cerebellum is all about motor learning. It's what takes a super complex skill, like chipping away at a stone to make a perfect point, and automates it until it's just muscle memory. And why is that so important? Because it frees up your conscious mind, your attention, to think about the bigger picture, strategy or what you're going to make next.
And finally, we've got the thing that ties this all together, white matter. Now, this isn't really a place in the brain. It's the wiring. It's the massive network of cables, nerve fibers, that lets all the different brain regions communicate with each other at lightning speed.
And you can really see how important this stuff is when you start comparing brains. Like in a little pygmy marmoset, white matter makes up maybe 9% of its brain. But in us, it's a whopping 35%. That's a huge difference.
So here's a great way to think about it. The story of our cognitive evolution might not be about getting a bigger hard drive, more storage space. It might be about getting a faster internet connection, a massive upgrade to the brain's bandwidth and network speed, all thanks to the supercharged white matter. Okay, so we've been on this pretty wild genetic journey. What does it all mean? What's the big takeaway here? Well, it all points to a totally new, and I think much deeper, way of seeing our ancient relatives.
So the paper puts forward this new working hypothesis, and this quote really nails it. It says that after we went our separate ways from our common ancestors, evolution wasn't selecting for brand new attention modules. Instead, it was all about making the existing relay hubs, those deep parts like the brainstem and cerebellum, way faster, stronger, and just more efficient.
And honestly, this is the most profound part of it all. It completely reframes how we should think about this. It tells us to stop picturing evolution as this simple ladder, with primitive brains down at the bottom and our supposedly superior brains at the top. It's not like that at all. It's more like a branching tree, where Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and Denisovans all develop their own unique attentional strengths, just different ways of focusing on the world.
And that leaves us with this incredible, wide-open question. If these ancient human groups really did have different ways of focusing, how did that actually play out in their daily lives? How did it shape the tools they crafted, the communities they formed, maybe even the art they made? And ultimately, how did it affect their ability to survive? It just goes to show you the most important clues aren't always in the stones and bones. Sometimes they've been hiding inside our genes the whole time.